Welcome back to Kari's Confessions, the Nonprofit Exec Tells All. I'm Kari Anderson, nonprofit consultant, executive coach, professional board wrangler, and on some days, professional people herder. I spent 25 plus years in the nonprofit sector in leadership roles with 7 organizations. Now I provide coaching and consulting services to ensure that nonprofits, like yours, have the structure, systems, and practices to do your best work. Wherever I go, I continue to hear that nonprofit execs need a space to gather, to receive tools, feedback, and advice that encourages them to stay the course. It doesn't matter if you're in a village of 182 or a metropolis of millions, nonprofit work is both gratifying and lonely. I'm here to make sure that you have a chance to breathe, laugh, smirk, and get excited again about the important work that you do. So every week we have honest conversations on this podcast about what it really takes to build healthy nonprofits. Not perfect nonprofits, healthy nonprofits. Organizations where the mission thrives, the staff doesn't burn out, the board actually understands its role, and fundraising because something people can feel good about instead of something they avoid. Today, we're talking about donor cultivation. Now, I know some of you just sighed. I heard you. Maybe you rolled your eyes a little. I saw you. Because somewhere along the way, donor cultivation became synonymous with one more thing. One more coffee meeting. One more thank you note. One more event. One more reminder sitting in your CRM that you'll get to eventually. But here's what I want to suggest today. Donor cultivation isn't supposed to create more work. It's supposed to make fundraising easier. And after spending more than 30 years inside nonprofits and now helping organizations across the United States through Incite Consulting, I can tell you something with absolute confidence. The nonprofits that consistently raise more money are rarely the ones working the hardest. They are the ones working from better systems. So today I want to share 7 donor cultivation moves that can dramatically improve your fundraising without dramatically increasing your workload. So move 1, stop treating every donor the same. Here's one of the biggest mistakes I made and that I continue to see. Organizations try to personalize every donor relationship equally. It sounds kind. It sounds donor-centered. It also isn't sustainable. Imagine if your doctor gave every patient the exact same level of care. The person coming in for a routine physical would receive the same attention as someone preparing for heart surgery. That wouldn't make sense. The same is true in fundraising. Your first-time donor doesn't need the exact same cultivation strategy as someone who's been giving for 15 years. Neither should receive the same experience as someone considering a 6-figure legacy gift. Instead, create relationship lanes. Maybe they're first-time donors, recurring donors, mid-level supporters, major gift prospects. Now everything becomes easier. Who owns the relationship? How often do they hear from you? What's the next logical step? Suddenly, your fundraising feels intentional instead of reactive. Move 2, create a rhythm instead of reacting. One of my favorite sayings is this: what gets scheduled gets done. Cultivation should never depend on whether someone has extra time, because let's be honest, nobody in nonprofits have extra time. Instead, create a rhythm. Maybe January is impact stories, February is thank you calls, March is a behind the scenes tour, April is board outreach, May is a short video update, June is simply checking in. Notice something? Most of those aren't asks. That's intentional. Donors don't want every interaction to feel like they're walking into a sales meeting. They want relationship. They want connection. When your calendar drives cultivation instead of panic, everyone breathes easier. Move 3, stop telling more stories. Start showing more impact. Now, before anyone emails me, I love storytelling. Critical component for successful fundraising. Storytelling matters. But here's where many nonprofits miss the mark. They tell beautiful stories without clearly explaining what changed because of the donor. Instead of saying, we had a wonderful tutoring program, try this. Because of your support, 18 students improved their reading levels within 12 weeks. See the difference? That's impact, clarity. I encourage every client to ask their program staff for just a handful of reusable proof points every quarter. A few statistics, a meaningful quote, a before and after example, one measurable outcome. Now your entire team has ready-made donor language. No scrambling, no reinventing the wheel. And your donors leave every conversation understanding exactly what their generosity accomplished. Move 4. Let your board build relationships. So can we talk about boards for a minute? Because you knew I was going there. Board members are often terrified they'll be asked to solicit donations. They imagine uncomfortable conversations. They picture themselves asking friends for money. The horror. So they avoid fundraising altogether. But here's the secret. Cultivation isn't asking. Cultivation is relationship building. Imagine this phone call. Hi, Susan. This is Jim from the board. I just wanted to personally thank you for your support. Because of your generosity, 20 families received emergency housing assistance this winter. I'm curious, what inspired you to get involved with us? That's it. No ask, no pressure, just gratitude, curiosity, connection. I've watched organizations transform their fundraising simply because board members began making 3 or 4 thank you calls every quarter. Not 50, 3 or 4. People support organizations, but they stay loyal because of relationships. Move 5. Every meeting needs a next step. This one may be my favorite. How many donor meetings end with, this was wonderful, we should do this again sometime? And then, nothing. Months pass. Nobody follows up. Everyone assumes someone else will. Instead, every donor interaction should end with one clear next step. Would you like to visit our program next month? Can I send you our strategic priorities? Would you enjoy meeting our program director? Would it be helpful if we talked again after the summer? Notice, we're not jumping to the ask. We're simply continuing the relationship. Major gifts rarely happen because of one conversation. They happen because of a sequence of thoughtful conversations. Think of fundraising less like closing a sale and more like walking alongside someone who's deciding how deeply they'd like to become involved. Move 6. Create one signature experience. Here's another confession of mine. I think nonprofits sometimes hold too many events. There, I said it. Events are expensive. They're exhausting. They're volunteer intensive, and often they're forgettable. Instead, create one experience your donors will remember. Maybe it's a small behind-the-scenes tour. Maybe it's breakfast with your executive director. Maybe it's 10 people sitting around a conference table hearing directly from program staff. Those intimate experiences often deepen relationships far more than your annual gala. They're easier to repeat. They're easier to personalize. And they naturally create follow-up conversations afterwards. And this from me, right? A recovering gala freak. One great experience can accomplish what 20 coffee meetings never quite manage. Move 7. Make follow-up foolproof. So here's where most cultivation systems break down. Not because people don't care, because they're human. Life happens. Meetings pile up. Emails get buried. Good intentions disappear beneath urgent priorities. So instead of relying on memory, create a simple tracking system. After every meaningful interaction, record 4 things. What happened? Who's responsible? What's the next step? When it needs to happen. That's it. Not pages of notes, please. Not a complicated CRM setup. Just enough information that anyone on the team could pick up the relationship if needed. Because relationships just don't belong with one person. Now, spend 20 minutes each week reviewing those next steps. 20 minutes. That's often all it takes to prevent donors from quietly drifting away. So let's put it all together. Now, if you're listening today thinking, Kari, this sounds wonderful, but we don't have time, I completely understand, which is exactly why these systems matter. You don't need to overhaul your fundraising department. You don't need expensive software. You don't need another committee. Start with one thing. Create donor lanes, or schedule one recurring cultivation touch each month, or ask your board members to make 3 thank you calls. Small systems compound, and that's true in nonprofits just as much as anywhere else. So, my final thoughts. One of the phrases you'll hear me say over and over and over again is this: nonprofit is a tax status, not a business model. Relationships are your business model. Your donors, your volunteers, your board, your staff. Everything depends on the quality of those relationships. Cultivation simply gives those relationships a dependable structure. So here's my challenge for you this week. Pick just one of these 7 moves. Don't try to implement everything. Choose one. Try it for 90 days. Then watch what changes, because I have a feeling you'll discover something important. It wasn't that your fundraising team needed to work harder. It was that your fundraising system needed to work smarter. Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of Kari's Confessions, a Nonprofit Exec Tells All. If today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love it if you'd share this episode with another nonprofit leader, a board member, or someone who cares deeply about building stronger organizations. And if your organization feels like it's doing all the right things, but fundraising still feels harder than it should, sometimes it isn't about raising more money. Sometimes it's about untangling systems, clarifying roles, creating accountability, and building a fundraising culture that people actually enjoy being a part of. That's the work I get to do every day, and I absolutely love it. Be sure to find me on your favorite streaming platforms, and for more tips and tools, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at inciteconsultinggroup.com. Until next time, keep building your nonprofit up from the inside out. I'm Kari Anderson. Thanks for listening.